Today is Wednesday, August 30th, and I think it would be wise to make a synopsis of why it comes to be that I am in Pflugerville, why I'm able to walk sometimes and sometimes not. So this is as brief a synopsis as I can possibly come up with. I've had health problems my whole life, but 8 months ago I began to have cerebral congestion. And being an educated person, I began worrying about simple little things like hydrocephaly, which can be an indicator of the rapid onset of dementia. So I scheduled an MRI. My driver messed up the trip. I didn't get the MRI. And that very evening, I began having paresis. That's kind of almost like paralysis in my left arm. And there was so by the next day, actually, I knew I had to escape Burleson County just due to the fact that the local Catholic health system hates my ass with a passion, and I hate them back. It's purely political. So I rapidly retreated to Austin, where I immediately began to have grand mal seizures, a whole series of them. Sometimes I would actually have hours of these kind of mild hallucinations or being kind of a hallucinatory trance or whatever. But I had a series of grand mal seizures, blackouts, falls. I had a burn on my foot that may have been a contributing factor, some smoke inhalation from burning polyester. My lap blanket caught on fire because I couldn't feel my left arm, and I dropped a cigarette. Wasn't even so. But we still don't know because the problems, the cerebral congestion was there before the smoke inhalation. So I was admitted to Baylor Scott and White, and that facility is not big enough, so they transferred me to St. David's Trauma Center, South Austin. I got like the best room in the place, room 777, presidential, big room, huge TV, all that stuff. Had 6 doctors. And then I began to just run into this massive wall of stupidity. I gave those doctors 2 weeks. I want this to be on record here. I didn't even let on to the staff, and the staff was going with me on the chemistry. The doctor who appears to deliberately have botched because he didn't put the vacuum canister on, that guaranteed I would have a catastrophic failure of the graft on my left foot, which I almost lost my left foot if it weren't for my skills in live cell migration skin grafting. I'm the one that spent the last almost 7 months now, say it is 7 months, repairing my left foot, one cell at a time. And several times a day, they kept trying to give me this. It's already was in a glass, syringe, everything, apparently a very expensive anti-clotting agent, which I kept telling the doctors based on what little information that they were giving me, that it would probably blind me or kill me. And no, I waited 2 weeks, 6 doctors. Of course, see, the doctors who were secondary, because we had to decide how many holes are there going to be in me. We needed to make 4 holes, including a brain burr right here for the subdural hematoma. And also, I tore a rotator cuff. My left arm is pretty much useless. I've got about 10% range of motion back, but for 4 months, my arm was completely useless. Couldn't hold any, couldn't perform really any function. And I gave those doctors, particularly, I think his name was Jason or Justin Booth. I really don't hold grudges beyond any necessary. The guy's a complete fucking idiot. He proved it. I waited 2 weeks, and none of the doctors even associated with him, and that team of 6 doctors, neurologist, orthopedic surgeon, all that stuff, not one of them suggested heparin, which is produced by the liver, anti-clotting, readily available both in IV injection and in pills. I just wanted to see how stupid they were and how mean and evil the admitting doctors at St. David's. Now, St. David's staff, their facilities, all that stuff, that's fine by me. They were fine people. But the doctors I was dealing with were a group of the biggest dumbasses I have run into in a long time. And that's true for almost every doctor that I ran into while I was being what they call churning the account, being bounced around every medical facility possible in Austin. It was really horrific. Not even going to get into any kind of long discussion about what the hell happened at West Oaks Rehab and Skilled Nursing Facility. Those bunch of vicious, psychotic misandrists. The social worker is openly lesbian, claims to be her. Waited 2 weeks for them to say one word, because if you bring up a medication, doctors will usually find some kind of way of poo-pooing it, like, oh no, that won't be quite good enough, this is much better. Waited 2 weeks for them to say the word heparin. You're a fucking idiot. All of you are fucking idiots and evil. If one doctor doesn't override the other doctor and say, well, doctor, what about possibly using heparin? Then I know the whole team of you fuckers are not to be trusted. And to kind of show how evil those fuckers were, they actually, even though my insurance pays for it, and I know what the qualifications are, my legs weren't working, and I had one arm that was not usable. I can't push, and therefore I'm entitled, as I've already been before, to a power wheelchair. And they just outright said, no, we don't do that. No, I'm not going to. I should have had a power wheelchair upon leaving St. David's. No, they gave me one of those big, giant, wide load, carry a 700-pound patient. They weigh the wheelchair alone, even when folded up, it's around 50 to 60 pounds. It's almost impossible to even. And they even called, even though I told them, I said, I can't fit into a regular Uber or whatever. They were going to take me wherever I wanted to go. In other words, they were just dumping me out on the street. And that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to get free of them because of actually, I want to repeat again, the nurses, the rest of the staff, all that stuff at St. David's, South Austin Trauma Center, y'all were fine. It was the doctors that were the problem. And the fact that he didn't put that vacuum canister on when it already had been on there, when they redressed it and left the vacuum canister off, Dr. Booth, or whatever the hell your name is, whose real job, I looked him up, is sucking the fat out of rich women. That's what he really does for a living. Yeah, that takes a lot of skill. Yeah, yes. And they actually kicked me out of a wheelchair that was too big, that would require somebody to push me. And actually called an Uber that was too small. The minute it pulled into the driveway, I just turned to the lady that was supposed to be helping me and told her, there's no way I can get into that vehicle. You better call a bigger one, just straight out. So, and then it was just, I got bounced around. I was in and out of hospitals so much, because it just was horrible. I mean, when you have, when you got to have wound care, you got to have wound care when you're stuff like that. And so at least I'm going to try to hold this to 10 minutes. At least every day there was a constant barrage, 2, 4, 6, sometimes 8 people, nonstop questions testing my memory all day long. And a doctor at West Oaks, she did what is technically an eidetic test, and eidetic memory is almost never found in adults, and yet I tested almost perfect. The only real impedance, I missed the 2 smallest items on the picture. Well, that's because I got a broken arm, and I didn't have any reading glasses. It's kind of hard to even get close enough to so I have a phenomenal memory. My brain works just fine. And I'll never forget the horror of especially Austin Seton University Hospital, which they've been all over YouTube lately about all that bullshit with Central Health and Austin Seton University Hospital, which I really pity you. If you end up in Austin Seton Hospital, those people you're just another lab rat to them people. Even worse, they like to experiment on you. So it kind of explains it in as brief as possible as to why I'm here and why sometimes I'm able to walk is because 7 months ago I couldn't walk at all, especially after the surgery. I could sometimes just barely stand. It was difficult to even change, clothes and stuff, and had to do that mostly sitting down. And everybody, please bear in mind, don't slap, touch, or punch me on my left shoulder, which most right-handed people go for that. Just because it looks like I'm strong and healthy doesn't mean I am. I am getting stronger. I am going to recover as much as possible, but I'm going to end this at a little over 11 minutes by pointing out that I'm up against this horrible deadline, because I know that at a certain point, particularly people my age, that muscular atrophy that's part of the rotator cuff tear, that muscle that's attached to the bone, it begins to atrophy back towards the spine region. So I've probably got less than 2 or 3 months to make arrangements to get that fixed, if possible. Otherwise, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with my dominant arm with only about a 10% range of motion. So maybe this will answer the questions of some of my subscribers and of the many people who watch my channel who are not subscribers. So that's pretty much it in brief. And trust me, why did I even say that? I can spot a stupid doctor a mile away. A doctor that argues with me. There's so much more I'd like to tell you, but that would go 20, 30 minutes. Oh, we'll finish with this. The doctor, the fat-sucking doctor, came in one day with the general doctor who was in general control. And he came in and he tried to mount his defense. This was after 10 days. We were just getting ready. We were just short of surgery. And said, I'm going to repeat the exact words I said, and they're going to be quite vulgar. He said, there's absolutely no evidence. And I said, I got you right there, motherfucker. I waited 14 years for the first paper to be published that proved, and it was a COX 2, not a COX 1, that shows that COX 1, COX 2s oxidize the arachidinol ethanolamide. You're a lying piece of shit, motherfucker, is exactly what I said to Justin or Jason Booth, the plastic surgeon who fucked up deliberately, tried to fucking have my foot amputated by botching, causing a catastrophic failure of the skin graft on my left foot, which I've fixed now. So that's it. That's the briefest I can do on why I'm here and why I'm in the shape I'm in right now. Grand mal seizures and the injuries thereof, and a whole shit ton of really stupid, mean, evil doctors who were not held accountable during all those COVID years when they were raking in the trillions of dollars.